Hi, I'm Caleb. I'm 19 now, but last year on my 18th birthday, I learned exactly what it feels like to be the backup singer in your own life, while your golden boy brother belts lead vocals, mic in hand, spotlight full blast. Let's go back to that party, his party, that was supposed to be mine. You remember the one? My mom threw away the banner I helped design, swapped out the cake I wanted, and somehow forgot I was the one actually turning 18. Jeremy was back home, soaking up all the oxygen in the room, and I was just there. Present but optional. Like a coaster or the patio furniture. But the moment that broke me, the real moment, wasn't the stupid winking emoji on the Jeremy's 18th again banner. It wasn't even when he stood up on a chair and gave a whole speech that didn't mention me once. No. It was what happened next. So picture this. I'm off in the corner of the yard by the fence with my friend Kyle, who's been my ride-or-die since 7th grade. We're trying to laugh it off, sipping flat soda and pretending I didn't just get erased from my own birthday party. Then someone taps me on the shoulder. It's this kid named Devin, Jeremy's old teammate. Nice enough guy. Barely knows me, but he's holding a phone and smiling like we're suddenly friends. Hey man, he says. Your brother told me to ask you. Can you film something real quick? It's for his birthday reel. We want that candles blowing out in slow motion shot. I blinked. I thought he was joking. I waited for the punchline. It didn't come. You want me to film him blowing out my candles? I asked deadpan. Devin chuckled like it was adorable. Well, they're kind of his candles too, right? No. No, they weren't. But before I could answer, Jeremy popped into view, already posing by the cake, his cake. My mom had gotten in his favorite flavor. The one I was allergic to. Yo, Caleb, Jeremy called. Come on, man. Make yourself useful. Kyle looked at me like he was ready to throw hands. I just stood there frozen. And that's when something in me snapped. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the camera. I didn't storm off. I picked up the cake. Jeremy turned just in time to see me walk past him, frosting and candles wobbling in my arms. Dude, what the hell? He shouted. I walked to the fire pit, the one he had claimed all night like it was his throne, and without a word, I dropped the entire cake into the flames. It landed with a soft thud, then caught fire like it had been waiting its whole life for the moment. Flames curled around the edges, melting the frosting, candles bending like wilted flowers. The backyard fell into stunned silence. I turned to face the crowd, friends, family, neighbors, all watching me like I'd just kicked a puppy. You wanted a memory? I said loud and clear. There's your memory. Then I walked out. Not just out of the party. Out of their story. Out of the role of second son. Out of them. I didn't run. I walked. All the way down the street, past the neighbors' cars parked along the curb, past the birthday balloons swaying sadly in the breeze like they weren't sure which party they belonged to anymore. I could still hear murmurs from the backyard, my mom's sharp voice, Jeremy yelling something about me being a drama queen, the sound of someone trying to scoop flaming cake out of a fire pit with a garden shovel. It was poetic, honestly. I didn't have a plan. No backpack, no wallet, no idea what came next. Just the clothes I was wearing and the clarity of someone who'd finally hit their limit. I ended up at Kyle's place. His parents weren't home. They never were, they worked nights, so we sat on the floor of his basement in silence for a long while, both of us processing what the hell had just happened. You really did it, he finally said, cracking a soda and handing it to me. You cake-bombed your own party. I shrugged. Felt right. We laughed. Not like, haha that was funny laugh. More like that tired weird, well I guess this is my life now. Laugh. The kind that comes out when your world has cracked just enough to let in some fresh air. I spent the night there, crashed on a lumpy couch with a fleece blanket that smelled like Doritos and Axe body spray. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible. Kyle didn't ask me to explain myself. He didn't say I was overreacting. He just existed next to me like I was worth being there. I didn't realize how rare that was until I didn't have to earn it. The next morning, I woke up to 23 unread messages and 5 missed calls. All from my mom. No. Are you okay? No. Happy birthday. Just, Caleb. What you did last night was extremely immature. You embarrassed your father. Jeremy's friends were horrified. Your grandparents are still asking what's wrong with you. This is not how we raised you. There it was. Not how they raised me. They were right. Because the way they raised me was to sit down, shut up, and clap politely while Jeremy took the spotlight, even when the light was supposed to be mine. I texted back 2 words. Not sorry. Then I turned off my phone and spent the rest of the weekend applying to every college that was still accepting rolling admissions, out of state. I was already accepted to one nearby, the one they wanted me to go to so I could stay close to family. Family? Right. On Monday, I packed a duffel bag, went home while no one was there, and took what was mine, not much, just a few clothes, a notebook full of writing, my laptop, and the photo I kept hidden in my drawer. One of the only ones where I was in the center. I was 5, holding a sparkler, grinning like the world hadn't yet taught me to dim myself for someone else's shine. I left a note taped to the fridge. Caleb has left the building. And then I walked out the door again. Only this time, I didn't look back. By the time I got the acceptance email from Millbridge State, it was already mid-spring. I was sitting on a bench behind Kyle's school, watching a squirrel fight a plastic bag for dominance, when my phone buzzed with the subject line, "Congratulations. You're in." I didn't jump or cheer. I just stared at it for a second, thumb hovering over the screen, letting the words settle. It was the first time in a long time something had gone my way. No strings. No Jeremy. I told Kyle that night. He clapped me on the back so hard I nearly choked down my soda. Dude, this is it. Fresh start. You're gonna walk into that place and be Caleb. Not Jeremy's little brother. Just Caleb. That's huge. And it was. But here's the funny thing about new beginnings, you still bring the old ghosts with you. I moved into campus housing that August. It was this creaky, 4-story brick dorm with radiators that hissed like angry cats and bathrooms that looked like they hadn't been cleaned since the Cold War. But I didn't care. It was mine. My room. My schedule. My story. Orientation week was a blur of icebreakers, free pizza, and awkward conversations with kids who smelled like laundry pods and overcompensated confidence. I didn't make friends right away. I wasn't trying to. I just wanted space. Space to breathe, to not flinch every time someone said, "Family weekend." To not brace for the inevitable question, "So, where's your brother go?" But then, second week of classes, I met Lena. She was in my intro to film theory class, sitting 2 rows ahead of me, sketching storyboards in the margins of her notebook while the professor droned on about Soviet montage. After class, I made some dumb comment about how Eisenstein probably would have loved TikTok. She laughed, not politely, but like she actually meant it, and that was that. We got coffee. Then we got lunch. Then we started sharing headphone earbuds during study breaks like some sort of retro indie movie. I didn't tell her much at first. Just that I had a brother. Just that things were complicated at home. She didn't push. That's what I liked about her. She didn't treat my silence like something that needed fixing. But one night, as we sat on the steps outside the library, passing a bag of vending machine trail mix back and forth, she said, "You know, you don't have to pretend it didn't hurt. Whatever it was." I blinked at her. She didn't look at me when she said it. Just watch the stars. So I told her. Everything. The birthday, the cake, the party that wasn't Jeremy. My parents. All of it. And when I finished, I waited for the reaction, pity, surprise, maybe even disbelief. But Lena just nodded. "Yeah," she said. "That tracks. You tell stories like someone who's been talked over a lot." That line hit harder than I expected. We sat in silence for a while after that. Not awkward silence. The kind that feels like putting down a weight you didn't realize you were carrying. That night, I opened a blank Google Doc and typed, "Second Son." A short film script. It started with a birthday party. One where the guest of honor wasn't the one blowing out the candles. It ended with a camera slowly pulling back, until the main character was just a blur at the edge of the frame. I didn't know it then, but that story, that one script written out of pure, quiet grief, would change everything. Second Son was never meant to be seen by anyone. It was supposed to be my own little therapy session in screenplay format, a place to dump all the words I hadn't said aloud, all the moments I pretended didn't sting. I'd open the doc at 1 a.m. after finishing some boring freshman gen ed essay, type a few scenes, then close it before the ache got too loud. But Lena found it one afternoon when I forgot to log out of my laptop at the library. She didn't read it right away. Just saw the title and asked, "This about you?" I hesitated. "Not just me." She smiled. "You should finish it." So I did. Over the next month, I poured everything into that script. Every overlooked moment, every one-sided hug, every time I got told, "Let your brother have this," like I was born to be a placeholder. I wrote scenes that made me uncomfortable. Dialogue that felt like ripping band-aids off bruises I forgot I had. I even wrote a version of the cake fire moment. Except in the film, the protagonist doesn't drop it in the fire pit. He picks it up and walks straight into the woods, alone, candles flickering like dying stars. When I handed Lena the final draft, I expected polite feedback. Maybe a few grammar notes. Instead, she sat back in her chair, tears in her eyes, and said, "You have to make this. Like, actually make it." I laughed. "With what money? This campus won't even fund working vending machines." But she wasn't joking. Turns out, there was a microfilm grant through the university's arts program, a $2,000 fund for short films pitched by students. Lena knew a guy in the department. Said if I cleaned up the script and put together a pitch deck, she'd help produce it. I didn't even know what a pitch deck was. But I learned. Over the next few weeks, we built a team, a couple film majors with decent cameras, a sound guy from the theater department, and 2 freshman actors who, swear to God, looked like alternate timeline versions of me and Jeremy. We scouted locations around campus, begged the dining hall to let us use their back patio, and filmed on weekends while most people were sleeping off hangovers. It was exhausting. But it was also electric. Every frame we shot felt like peeling back a layer of shame and letting light in. Every line of dialogue was a note in a song I didn't know I was writing. And when we finally wrapped the last scene, that long slow zoom out from the birthday party, I stood behind the monitor with headphones on, watching the playback, and realized I was shaking. Not from nerves. From relief. We edited the whole thing in a week. I didn't sleep much. Just mainlined instant coffee and lived in the editing lab like a vampire. Lena composed the score herself, a soft piano piece that started hopeful and ended hollow, like a lullaby running out of notes. We submitted it to the campus film festival on a whim. Then forgot about it. 3 weeks later, I got an email at 2:13 a.m. Subject: "Congratulations, Second Son accepted as closing night short." I stared at the screen for so long, I almost forgot to breathe. We were closing night. The slot. The last film, the one people remembered. I called Lena, half asleep. She picked up. "Is this real?" I laughed. "Feels fake. But it's not." She screamed so loud I think her RA filed a noise complaint. And that night, I opened my phone and searched one word. Jeremy. His Instagram was public. He was back home. New bio. Just a guy figuring it out. No job updates. No college re-enrollment. Just a lot of gym selfies and reposted motivational quotes like, "Your only limit is you." I looked at his latest post. A caption that read, "Sometimes life takes you down weird roads. Just stay true to yourself." And all I could think was, "You made your road, bro." I just stopped following it. The night of the film festival felt unreal. The campus theater was packed, rows of students in thrifted blazers, professors pretending they weren't grading papers on their phones, a few art majors with film cameras they absolutely didn't need but brought for the aesthetic. Lena and I stood in the back, just close enough to the aisle in case we had to throw up or run. They saved Second Son for last. The lights dimmed, the murmurs faded, and the screen flickered to life. I'd watched this film a dozen times during editing. I knew every cut, every pause, every inhale before a line. But seeing it play in a theater, hearing the quiet gasps, the uncomfortable chuckles when the Jeremy character hijacked the birthday party, it hit different. It wasn't just my story anymore. It was theirs too. The final scene rolled, the protagonist, sitting alone at the edge of a party that wasn't his, holding a lit cupcake, half in shadow. The camera slowly pulled back as the noise of the crowd blurred into static. Then silence. Then credits. Applause started soft. Then it grew. Then it roared. People stood up. Lena grabbed my hand and whispered, "You did that. You." After the lights came up, a couple students approached me. One guy said, "Hey man, that scene with the banner? That was me, sophomore year. I didn't even realize how bad it was until just now." Another girl hugged me, full hug, no warning, and said, "You made me feel less crazy." It was surreal. Then my film professor came over. The one who said I had layered emotional pacing in an earlier short script. He looked dead serious. "Caleb," he said, "have you thought about submitting this outside the university? This could play regionals. Maybe even nationals. I'm not blowing smoke." I blinked. No. Not really. "Start thinking," he said. "This has weight." That night I couldn't sleep. Not because I was anxious. Because for the first time in my life, I felt seen. Like I'd finally dragged my name out from under Jeremy's shadow and stapled it to something real. A week later, I got an email from the university media department. They wanted to feature Second Son on the school's homepage. Interview me. Highlight student creators. Cool, right? But here's where it gets spicy. The university shared the article on their Facebook page. And guess who still followed that page from back home? Yup. My mom. I didn't expect anything from her. But 2 days after the post went live, I got a text from a number I hadn't saved since I changed phones. "Mom, saw your film. Beautiful work. We didn't realize how much you felt left out. Wish you told us." No apology. No. "We're sorry we made you feel invisible. Just, we didn't realize." I stared at it for a long time. Then, for the first time in years, I typed exactly what I felt. "I did tell you. You just weren't listening." No response. Not that night. Not the next. But I wasn't holding my breath. I'd said my piece. And it wasn't in some screaming match or passive-aggressive silence. It was in front of 100 people, on a screen, in a theater, with lighting and music and careful edits. It was art. It was mine. I didn't expect the film to go beyond campus. But the internet's a weird place. A week after the university posted the article about Second Son, a regional arts blog picked it up. Then a Twitter account that featured student short films reposted the trailer Lena had cut together. And then, someone I didn't recognize tagged me in a thread titled, "This short film about family favoritism?" Absolutely gutted me. Watch till the end. It had 4,000 likes in a day. My DMs exploded. Messages from strangers, college students, single moms, middle-aged men with usernames like TruckDad76, all saying the same thing. I thought I was the only one. People telling me about birthday dinners where no one showed. Graduation parties where their siblings got more applause. Christmases where their names got left off the stockings. It was like everyone had a version of my story, and no one had ever let them say it out loud. And just when I thought it couldn't get wilder, Lena knocked on my dorm door with her laptop. Caleb," she said, eyes wide. "You need to see this." She turned the screen toward me. It was a Facebook post from our hometown community page, the one where old people argued about potholes and where to get the best pie. But this post was different. It was a link to the arts blog article, shared by none other than Ms. Holland, my high school English teacher. "Proud of my former student, Caleb Wren, for this incredible short film. Some of you may recognize the family dynamics portrayed here. A powerful reminder to see the quiet ones." The comments were unhinged. Parents tagging other parents. "Isn't this Jeremy's younger brother? Wait, is this about that birthday party? Didn't they throw a joint party a few years back? But it was all Jeremy." And my favorite one. "The cake in the fire pit. I knew that wasn't an accident." Westwood was on fire. Lena and I sat there on my bed, reading them out loud, howling with laughter, passing a bag of popcorn like we were watching a movie, my movie, in real time. But not everyone was laughing. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a call from a very familiar number. I didn't answer. Then came the text. Jeremy. I can't believe you turned our family drama into your little film career. You made us look like monsters. I stared at it for a second. Then came another. You always had a victim complex. You're not special, Caleb. You're just bitter. Classic Jeremy. Then the twist. He posted on his Instagram story. White text on a black background, very dramatic. Some people use lies to get sympathy. Others stay silent out of respect. Guess which one I am? I snorted. The irony. Jeremy, king of stealing spotlights, talking about respect. But here's the kicker. A day after his story, I got an email. From a film producer. No, not like Hollywood. But a guy who ran a digital production studio in New York. He'd seen the film through a mutual contact from the festival circuit. He wrote, Caleb. Saw your short. Loved it. Haunting, precise, beautifully restrained. We're building a new team for short-form storytelling. Social, docu-style, narrative blends. Would love to talk. My heart stopped. I read it 3 times before I let myself believe it was real. And as I sat there, half laughing, half crying, I realized something. Jeremy was right. I did turn our family drama into my film career. And I'd do it again. Every birthday. Every banner. Every silent moment they handed me? Now it was a spotlight. The showcase was held in Westwood. Full circle. The university had rented out the old community theater for their annual alumni spotlight, and they picked Second Son as the closing piece. I didn't invite my family. I didn't need to. I knew they'd come. They always showed up when other people were watching. The lobby buzzed with neighbors, former teachers, some old classmates I hadn't seen since high school. And then I saw them. Jeremy in a wrinkled dress shirt, slouched like the seat was doing him a favor. My mom, tight-lipped and overdressed. My dad, arms folded like this was court. They didn't say a word when I passed them. I just nodded once. The lights dimmed. The film rolled. And for the next 14 minutes, they were trapped. No pausing. No talking over me. Just the truth, flickering 24 frames a second, about what it feels like to be treated like a shadow in your own home. By the end, the room was quiet. Not polite quiet, wrecked quiet. Then applause. After the screening, I stood by the exit, shaking hands, accepting compliments. And then my mom walked up. Her voice shook. Was it really that bad? I didn't flinch. Worse. You just never asked? Jeremy hovered behind her, glaring. You made us look like villains. I shrugged. Didn't make anything. I just remembered. Then I walked past them, out into the cold night air. As I stood beneath the marquee, my name glowing above the doors, I realized this was the birthday I never got. Not a cake. Not a banner. Just a room full of people who finally saw me. And that was more than enough.